Russia is spreading a fake story about supposed Ukrainian and Western plot at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. Russian media have been actively pushing this disinformation, aiming to discredit both Kyiv and the West.
The West is considering the option of sabotaging the ZNPP with the melting of the core of its nuclear reactors.
Russian intelligence claims that NATO countries are allegedly encouraging Kyiv to carry out a sabotage operation that could harm both Ukrainian and EU citizens near Ukraine's western border. Moscow suggests that if such an incident were to happen, the blame would be ultimately fall on Russia. This is not the first provocation. In September and October, Europe's largest nuclear plant operated for weeks disconnected from Ukraine's energy grid, running on emergency diesel generators. On October 6, International Atomic Energy Agency staff reported a series of shots fired just 1 kilometer from the plant's perimeter. According to Ukrainian intelligence, Russian forces have regularly staged mock attacks on the facility, apparently to later blame Ukraine. Russian chilling has already cut the plant off from the external power around 10 times, creating a real risk of a radiation disaster. Hollywood star and UN Goodwill Ambassador Angelina Jolie made a surprise visit to Kherson and Mykolaiv. The actress toured local medical facilities, including a maternity hospital and a children's hospital, meeting staff and patients. In addition, Jolie met with the head of the city's military. On October 29th, Russian forces cynically shelled a children's hospital in Kherson where young patients, their parents and medical staff were present. At least 9 people were injured in the attack, including 3 healthcare workers and 4 children. This was not Angelina Jolie's first visit to Ukraine since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. On April 30, 2022, she visited Lviv, met with refugees and volunteers and toured a train station, a boarding school and a local hospital. Ukrainian forces have destroyed a base used by Russian occupiers to store, assemble and launch Shahed drones. The base was located at Donetsk Airport. The commander of Ukraine's unmanned system forces, Robert Madyar Brovdi, shared the news along with the video footage of the strike.
A base for storing, assembling, and launching Shahed drones at Donetsk Airport, temporarily occupied, has been destroyed. This was a joint operation of the Special Operations Forces, the Rocket Forces and Artillery, and the Brigade Reconnaissance Unit of the 414th Separate Unmanned Systems Forces Brigade, call sign PTAK, Madyar. The development of this complex site involved several months of reconnaissance, gathered from small pieces of intelligence. Tonight, it was struck using the appropriate strike assets of the Special Operations Forces, the Rocket Forces and Artillery of the Defense Forces of Ukraine.
Meanwhile, on the evening of Wednesday, November 5th, Russian media reported explosions in temporarily occupied Donetsk. Photo and videos of the incident quickly appeared online. Ukrainian forces' strike on Donetsk Airport may have been destroyed over 1,000 Shahed drones and 1,500 rounds of ammunition, according to intelligence estimates. The attack, carried out with cruise missiles and drones, also hit an ammunition depot, a fuel shortage site, a drone launch preparation point, and damaged key power and communication infrastructure. NATO has overtaken Russia in ammunition production. Until recently, Moscow was outproducing all NATO allies combined, but now the alliance has ramped up production and pulled ahead, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says. Rutte warned that the world faces a long-term threat from Russia's unprovoked war against Ukraine. He added that even after the war ends, Russia will remain a dangerous actor in Europe and beyond, backed by partners like China, North Korea and Iran. Those countries are preparing for a prolonged confrontation and trying to undermine the rules that keep the world stable, Rutte said. NATO already fields advanced systems that give it an edge, but more production and faster deliveries of ammunition are urgently needed.
First, on quantity, we already have state-of-the-art systems, the best of the best. These give us an edge, and we will keep it sharp. But we need more, and we need it fast, and that means increasing production and shortening delivery times. We are already turning the tide on ammunition. Until recently, Russia was producing more ammunition than all NATO allies put together. But not anymore. Across the alliance, we are now opening dozens of new production lines and expanding existing ones. We are making more than we have done in decades. We need to build on this progress in other areas, from high-end air defense and low-cost drone interceptors.
In Russia, Ukrainian drones attacked the Lukoil oil refinery and the third largest thermal power plant of Russia. On the night of November 6th, a group of drones carried out attacks on several key fuel and energy facilities in Russia. Explosions were reported in Volgograd and the Kostroma region, and airports in several areas were temporarily closed. According to Russian media, at least 8 to 10 explosions were heard in Volgograd, with residents reporting sounds in the western and northern parts of the city. People also described a loud hum in the sky and bright flashes which made walls and windows shake. Later, the governor of Volgograd region, Andrei Bacharov, confirmed a fire at an industrial site. In Kostroma, drones targeted the Kostroma thermal power plant in Volgorechsk. Local filmed a fireball over the plant. Kostroma thermal power plant is the third largest thermal power station in Russia. The Russian Ministry of Defense claimed that they had shot down 75 drones over Russian regions and temporarily occupied Crimea during the night. Ukrainian's general staff confirmed the attacks on targets in Russia and reported strikes on fuel depot in temporarily occupied Crimea.
With the aim of degrading the enemy's logistical capabilities, 3 fuel depots in the temporarily occupied Autonomous Republic of Crimea were struck. At an oil depot in the settlement of Havardiske, a storage tank and fuel cisterns on the loading-unloading rack were successfully hit. At 2 fuel depots in Simferopol, the tank farms were struck, and fires were reported in the fuel tanks. The defense forces are consistently implementing measures to strike critical elements of the aggressor state's military-industrial infrastructure, both on its territory and on temporarily occupied areas, in order to deprive the enemy of offensive capabilities and the ability to continue the aggression.
Putin blames Trump for Russia's own nuclear weapons modernization program, but the overall nuclear balance between Russia and the United States has not changed. This according to a new report from the Institute for the Study of War released on November 5th. On November 4th, Putin awarded the developers of the new Borovesny cruise missile and the Poseidon unmanned underwater vehicle, praising their so-called unique capabilities. The following day, he held a Russian Security Council meeting where Defense Minister Andrei Belousov, Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov, and Intelligence discussed Trump's October 29 statement about plans to resume nuclear weapons testing. Belousov reportedly suggested that Putin begin preparations for a new nuclear test. According to analysts at the Institute for the Study of War, the Kremlin is publicly interpreting Trump's remarks as a confirmation of U.S. intentions to resume nuclear warhead tests. Trump himself did not specify whether he meant warheads or their delivery systems. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright clarified that reference was likely to missile system tests. Despite Kremlin statements, Russia's latest weapon developments do not change the overall nuclear balance between the United States and Russia.
Russia has violated the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, New START, and likely restarted low-yield nuclear tests in 2019 in violation of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. Russia's latest weapons developments fundamentally do not change the nuclear balance between the United States and Russia, even if the technical details that Putin is touting are true, as the Center for Strategic and International Studies recently noted.
Meanwhile, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte sharply dismissed Russian dictator Vladimir Putin's nuclear threats, saying his statements are no longer worth attention. At a joint press conference with Romanian President, Rutte was asked to comment on the meeting called by Putin in response to US nuclear tests and whether NATO would respond.
I stopped long ago to react to every meeting President Putin is organizing. He is well paid as president of Russia, so I guess he has to meet sometimes with his people.
That's all for now. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave your comments below.